Hey, I think I'm live, and I am, if you don't know me, Sandy Rakowitz. And I am a little nervous, so I'm just going to take a few minutes. I wanted to start outside on my deck because it's been raining. I'm going to be talking about animal communication and connecting with animals and nature and creativity, and because I'm not used to doing live streams on my own, I'm used to doing them with Linda Tellington-Jones. I wanted to start outside because I feel much more grounded and connected with nature. It's so supportive. And hi, Carla. And because it's been raining and we have green. It's January in California in the Central Coast and we have green. Isn't it just amazing? I hope you can see it because it really is pretty phenomenal. And and my view is pretty spectacular, isn't it? Like, this is literally the deck view. And I wanted to talk to you about animal communication because that is part of my passion, love, and creativity, and my recent connections with the elephants, because of so many reasons. It's an amazing way to deepen your connection with your own animals. And there's a lot of steps that I walk people through to facilitate that. One of the things that's been growing more and more for me recently, in the last year and a half, is working through my creative art journal. I've been doing creative art journaling for over 30 years, and it's been a really powerful tool. What I have been moving into more and more is painting and doodling and painting, doodling with simple shapes and watercolor paints. And I'm connecting that, or moving into that, with the animal communication more and more and more, and nature, and with guides. And I wanted to share that because when I talk with people about it, a lot of people are intrigued but don't really think that they're able to do those things themselves. And I know that everyone is capable of these connections. Everyone has these abilities inside of themselves, and we often override a lot of the information that we receive all the time. Those of you who have animals, you have your connections, and they're very special, and they're unique between you and your horse, or you and your dog, or you and your cat, or your goats, or your ferrets, or your birds, whatever animals you have. And I love helping people be able to tune in more, to know what I call, like, tune those radio stations. They're like radio stations because they're frequencies. Our thoughts are energy, our feelings are energy, they're vibrations, and we can learn how to tune those. Those are also, we also have our heart connections and ways of connecting intuitively. And I love bringing that out for people, like helping people. It's not me doing it, it's me helping you find those ways. And one of those ways, interestingly enough, is through journaling and creativity. It doesn't necessarily sound like that's like, well, what do you mean? How would you do that? If I'm standing with my horse, how is that going to be helping me? but it's very, very interesting. I wanted to show you a couple of the doodle things that started out as really simple doodle drawings for me. Let's see if I can do this while I'm on live stream without an overhead thing. So this is when I was in Thailand recently with the elephants. We had the afternoons off, meaning which meant that the elephants were given time to rest. Hi, Andy's Elizabeth. I always call you Andy still. While I was there, I did a little bit of painting, a little bit of doodling, a lot of writing, and in the afternoons while they were resting, and it gave a great time for pause and reflection and just needing that rest, because the connection was huge and so amazing and so phenomenal. And like, I'm used to cats, dogs, and horses, and those connections are amazing and phenomenal. And just being with the elephants, of course, it's so outside of my regular day-to-day contact. I don't see any here, although I can envision them around me, and I can feel them all the time and hear them. I hear Boon Mi especially. So I'm a little nervous, so I'll probably keep circling back around and to some different pieces, things that I wanted to talk about. So this started out as a really simple drawing. I had been doodling elephants prior to my trip, and doing a little bit of drawing with them. And this, when I drew it in pencil first, I thought, which often happens, oh, that's a really silly looking little elephant. Oh, and I turned the page and I did some additional ones, and then went to writing. And because often writing comes a little bit more easily to me. I as an adult have been reconnecting with that creative drawing and doodling spark or aspects of myself. And after, I don't remember if I did this when I was there or after I came home, but I just decided, as often happens, I'll go back to drawings and then start feeling the connection and then add color. I just let myself go. And the way that this is connected with communication, whether it's with a horse, dog, cat, bird, whomever, a domestic or wild one, it allows my brain to, my logical mind to rest, and for my intuition and my other ways, my emotional connections, my psychic connections, for all of those other ways of connecting to have the space to connect in. And it's so much fun once you start letting go. And I want to show you this other one that I did, because when in a moment, because I continue that process. I continue that process of just letting myself sink in, either with a message that I've received or just with an animal. And I'm showing you this with the elephants, but I do this with all the animals these days, and with any issue that I have that's been coming up. And this particular one, I was having some, actually, I drew the drawing of the elephant. This was one of the ones when I flipped the page and I went to draw an elephant, and while I was there. And I did this, flipped the page and just kept going. And after I came home on this one, I just started feeling into it and painting, and I was working with some pieces about my own confidence and my own self doubts about a particular thing that was happening. And what I like to focus with is where I'm moving into. Like I use these kinds of things to process the emotions and the old beliefs, and to let myself have a place to step forward into, to move into. And so when I had painted this, I did this in multiple steps. I didn't do this all at once. I painted the gold, and there was a space in the middle, and I kept wondering, what's that for? And then I came back to it, and after I had done some of the emotional work, and I did the little doodle of myself in my heart, and I realized that this is the elephant support, the elephant's connection, and like Boon Mi, the three of the wonderful female elephants that we worked with when we were there. And it was just went from self-doubt to self-soothing. And it's one of the many benefits. And each of these times that I sat with it, I only did like 5 minutes at a time. I didn't try to make it, like, I'm not trying to make myself into a Van Gogh or Michelangelo or anything like that. It's really for me and that process. Excuse me. And giving myself permission to not have to be perfect, to not have to be any particular way, but really allow that all the different ways of my own self-expression and the depths of the contact and connections that are possible. And when I work with the colors and I work with the doodles and the process, it really draws me into those deeper states of being in very, very potent ways. And we can do those things in many ways. We can do it through movement and riding horses, or even, going for a walk in nature, and all potent and all powerful. And it all comes back to where you're bringing your focus and what is your intention and what you want to be able to create and move into and step into. And I think that creativity, however that comes through you, is vital. I don't feel like it's a luxury. Those of you who know the author and speaker Brené Brown, she says that, I got that notion from her, that creativity is not a luxury. It is the integration of things coming through your mind, through your knowledge, through your heart and out your hands, or into your writing expression, or into your dance expression, or your yoga movements, or your riding with your horses, or however that shows up for you. And I have a program coming up called Live Your Best Life with Your Animals. It's an animal communication program, but it's saying that it's just animal communication is actually pretty limiting in its own way, because it has a depth of practices that help you come into your innermost being able to quiet the chit-chat, the monkey mind, the stuff that often happens, the doubts, the whatevers, and assists you in coming into yourself more and more, attuning yourself more and more, opening, being able to receive, and being able to do that in relationship with yourself as well as with the animals. And it's just been the most precious gift for me, that, I didn't have animals growing up in my home, amazingly enough. However, I started riding horses at a young age, and started training horses as a teenager, and started teaching as a teenager, teaching people about riding, and that kept opening doors for me. Hi Emily, oh hi. And it's my horse Eavis, who, that was in the late 1980s when I got Eavis, when we found each other in this lifetime, and it's 31 and a half years later. He's still strong and vibrant. It's remarkable. And it's through a lot of the promptings with him that helped me be able to find a lot of these places that, because of the contrast of what I knew was possible and with what was showing up between us, which wasn't always fun at the time, that it kept prompting me deeper. And of course, my own heart and desire for understanding kind of my emotional angst and things that didn't feel good in my life. And so I started doing, when I was I believe it was right when I started the Barbara Brennan School in 1991, that it's a school of healing working with human consciousness and chakras and energy fields with humans, and that I have since translated and work with all animals using those methods, and it's part of what's grown into the connection and communication with animals. But it's at that, I think it was really one of the first weeks, if not just before school started, that I started collaging and working with images because I felt like I couldn't draw. And I had been trying for a long time and took classes and painting classes and all that kind of stuff. And that creativity wanted to come out and needed a place of expression. Sorry, I was getting excited and bouncing. Sorry, the camera was bouncing with me. And I started collaging because I wanted a way for the energy and the images to have a place to get expressed. And what I found was whatever I was thinking in the moment wasn't actually what was getting out on the page. The images that I was attracted to and the way that I put them together on the pages, initially just on my covers, was, in retrospect, totally from my soul self, totally from my higher self, with messages from angels and guides and the animals in nature. And gradually I grew that process. I grew and evolved with that process, allowed more and more to come through. And right now what it's looking like is with watercolors and doodles, and really letting these messages of wisdom come through, and the clarity of, there's so many gems of information and messages that come through. And I was going to read to you one of the messages, but it's on my phone and I don't have it written out on a page. I'm just thinking for a moment, because this particular one, let me just briefly see. I know I should have this prepared, but I decided to do this live stream this morning because here's an example of, I was in some stuff, emotional stuff, and I wanted to really change it up. And I've been thinking about doing live streams for a really long time, and would do like a minute and get nervous and get off. And so some of you have probably seen a few of those. And thank you, Elizabeth. Yes, the creative process. Bunmi, absolutely. She's always with me and available for all. Yeah, so I'm not going to flip through my journal to look for that right now. I'll just have that prepared in a different way for another time. And so I decided to just jump in, because I love contacting and connecting with people. And I have this new program coming up, and I want to share it because it's really profound. It has changed, these processes have changed my life and my connections with the animals and my how I live day to day. And it's changed the trajectory of my life. And it's what has allowed experiences like going and visiting with the big cats last fall and having those amazing experiences, and what allowed the openings for me to be invited to go work with these elephants in Thailand, these amazing, extraordinary beings, and have the kinds of experiences that I had and how they are influencing my day-to-day life, right? Before that trip, I wasn't jumping on live stream and just winging it and just saying, hey, join me. Amazing. Come on. Let's do this together. Let's go romp. Let's go play together. I will put the link for the program in the comments below as soon as I get off. They don't really, if you can do it while you're on, I don't know how, and that's too confusing for me and too linear at the moment. But those are the things that I wanted to share. Those are some of the core creative pieces of the program. The steps that we use, I really walk people through step-by-step ways of connecting. So I've had people who are absolute beginners join me, and I have people like Emily, who's been working with me for years and doing amazingly beautiful things. And sorry, there was a message that came through for me. And just becoming an animal communicator professionally and teaching. It's just so beautiful. So I love working with people at all stages, and this program is set up and designed so that people can step in as a beginner and really get supported in all of those steps that really help you be able to tune in, tap in, and turn on that radio station or radio stations, those frequencies, and learn kind of where that is inside of you, so that you can strengthen it and get it validated. And I'm doing this new live group that starts on the 16th. That goes for a number of months, and those are really, really fun sessions, and we bring out what I call the curriculum. That sounds very studious, but it's really great videos and lessons and learnings and exercises, and the live group gives us the opportunity to be online with each other from all around the country, and be able to practice and get mentoring with me. It's very, very powerful and often quite profound, and it's really fun. It creates a sense of community, and people have developed really wonderful friendships through that. And there's other features. You can read about it on my website, on the page for that. If you want to go before I get a chance to put the link up, you can go to my website under events, and it's listed there, and you can click through there. It's the Animal Communication Immersion Program. Thank you, Sharon. You said you're such an amazing example of courage and living life to the fullest. Oh, I love you. Yeah, it's through all this that this is the process that I use to live life fully. So I hope you join us, and I love you. Thank you for joining me here, and mwah! Until next time, I'm making a commitment to do this once a week, and we'll just see what keeps coming. Bye for now.